And we're ready to do September's block, which is the cute little hedgehog. And I think he's the cutest block. I like him. He's done with the chenille technique. And again, we've got to make 2 of them. And these are the smaller blocks, the 4.5 by 4.5. So let's get started. Okay, so in your kit, you'll have enough fabric pieces for the 2 blocks. You'll have 2 of the backgrounds that you want to iron the SF101 onto, starch it and iron the SF101. Then you'll have 1 little piece that's 4 or 2, 1 for each block, of the little face fabric, and you want to iron a piece of the SF101 onto the back of that also. Then you will have 8 pieces of the fabric that you'll be doing the chenille. You need 4 for each block. So I have 4 pieces here. You lay down 1 piece first for the applique, and then you use the other 3 pieces for the chenille part of it. And then you'll cut you 2 pieces of your batting, 1 for each block, that are the finished size, which will be the 4x4. And you'll need your applique scissors, and then I use this old toothbrush when we rough up the chenille. And then as far as the thread colors, you're going to need the 2 browns, so the light beige color and the brown, the smoky black or smoky gray color, and then the off-white color or the neutral color that we've been doing the quilting. So I've already threaded up with the quilting color, and we're going to go get the quilt design first. So on your USB stick, we'll go into the September folder and then into the background quilting. And this one is a different quilting. I don't think we've done it before. I don't think. And we want the 4x4 size, but I want you to notice there's actually 2 different 4x4s. We want the one that the little flowers are going left to right. So it's the horizontal, not the vertical. So we want that one. And we want to set that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add. And this one, the design, the little hedgehog is centered exactly in the middle of the quilt design. So we're just going to add it, go back into our folder. And this time we're going to go into the embroidery files and get the cute little hedgehog. And if you want to, you could mirror image one of the blocks, you know. I haven't any of my other blocks, so I'm just going to keep him going the same direction, but he's just right in the center. And then we're going to shoot it over to the embroidery. So what's going to stitch off first is the placement line for our batting. Now we don't need the tack down, so I'm going to forward through that tack down for the batting, and then the next thing is going to be the placement line for the background fabric, and I'm going to go spray the back of my background fabric and my piece of batting with the 505 spray. And so now I'm just going to lay the batting down inside that batting placement line, and then lay the fabric on top of that, and then it's going to stitch the tack down. And now I'm just going to stitch off the quilting design. It's the little flowers done in rows. The quilting, the next thing it's going to stitch off, it will be the placement line and everything for his face. And so I've threaded up with the lighter color brown, and it's going to stitch the placement line for it first. it down, stitch the tack down. Just gonna trim it away. Okay, and it's just going to do a satin stitch around his face. Okay, the next thing that's going to stitch off is his little nose and then his eye. And I've threaded up with the dark gray smoky color thread, and I did the automatic needle threader, but I have kind of figured out, go ahead and pull up just a little bit of that thread tail, and it won't leave a little tail sticking up, because this is a tiny little nose. Okay, for the rest of it, it has several stitches left, but I'm gonna use the darker brown color for the rest of it. So we'll get threaded up, and it'll do the placement line for the single piece of brown fabric, just one of them. Okay, so I stitched off the placement line. Just take one of the brown pieces of fabric, and these don't have a right or a wrong side. Just lay it down, stitch the tack down. Now we're going to trim this piece away, and you do have lots of little juts to go around because he's furry. A fly. After you trim that single piece away, then it's going to do a little cover stitch that's kind of a little decorative stitch around it. Now, after it does the cover stitch, you're going to take the other 3 pieces of fabric. Now, if you are doing a chenille and you're using fabric that does have a right and a wrong side, you want all 3 pieces right side up. Again, the brown fabric, it doesn't really matter, so you have all 3 pieces stacked together, and you're going to lay that down, and then it's going to stitch a tack down. Okay, so we are on step 8 here, okay? We just now stitched the basting line. Then in the instructions, it says to go ahead and trim those 3 layers of fabric pieces down, and then it will stitch the little lines that we're supposed to cut in between for the chenille. And then it tells us also to remove those basting stitches. What I kind of figured out is if we'll go ahead, don't trim these 3 layers yet. So it's done the basting stitch, it's tacked those 3 layers down. Go ahead and stitch off the little chenille lines. And then I'll show you what to do. Okay, it's done stitching, okay? And so what you can do, it wants you to remove these basting stitches, these outside lines. And so what I figured out is if you kind of pull up and you cut close enough, basically just cut on those stitches, and then you're cutting them and you don't have to go back and remove them. So just go all the way around and cut directly on that stitching line. And again, you have little juts that we're going to have to go around. And if you don't get all of them cut, like that little section right there I missed, then you can just easily take the point of your scissors and pull those stitches out. And you're cutting through all 3 layers, okay? You want to be careful and don't cut the stitches, try not to cut those cover stitches down underneath there, and you want to try not to cut the fabric of that base little brown piece that we stitched down a while ago. But your scissors aren't going up in there yet. When we start cutting the chenille, we have to be a little bit more careful then. So I'm just going to finish cutting out right on that basting stitch all the way around him. Okay, so I've got all 3 layers trimmed away, and it's not real neat, but it's okay because we're going to be chenilling it anyway. So on the instructions here in this diagram, it's showing you in blue where you need to cut. So you're going to be cutting in between the stitching lines. And so you can either use, so like on this section right here, there's nothing really to cut because when we cut on those basting stitches, that part of the fabric is what's going to chenille. Now here we need to cut in between those 2. So you can either take a seam ripper. We did have a little chenille cutter, but I don't think that would actually work on him because in some of these cuts we're not going all the way through, from one side to the other. So like on this one, I can just take my seam ripper, and this is where you want to be careful and don't get a hold of the fabric that's that base layer that's underneath there. So we're just cutting through the 3 layers. Then this one right here, I'm going to go from here all the way over like that. Then this one is just coming up from here, and we're going to stop here. Then I'm going to come, no, actually I think I can go ahead and come on around on that one. So you just kind of basically go through and cut, kind of follow the diagram as a guideline, but then go and chenille as much as you can. Here is where, now see that one I didn't get the cut the basting stitches, so you can easily pull them out at this point. Here I'm going to stop here at this point there, and then this one I'm going to start here and go around to here. So actually I'm going to start down here and then go around and go to there. So just start cutting in between all your stitches. And you can, if the seam ripper's kind of hard, you can take your scissors and just kind of turn them on end and go like that also on the little cuts. So I'm going to keep chenilling. Okay, so I've got them all trimmed, the chenille part of it. So now you're just supposed to take and start roughing it up. They say you can take a fingernail file, a brush, your fingers, just anything, just start roughing it up. Also, if you squirt it with a little bit of water, then that's supposed to help. And so you're just going to sit here and scrub and scrub and scrub and just go all different directions until you get him fluffy. Okay, now once you've kind of got him, and you can just, you can scrub and scrub and scrub if you want. Once you have it pretty well chenilled, then clean up your brush And you'll have some long little strands that I just came in and kind of gave him a little haircut then, and just kind of trim those off and play with it until you get him as scruffy as you want him to be. And then we're gonna go and cut our blocks down to size. Okay, so we cut both of them down to the 4.5 by 4.5, and they are ready to go. I think I want to get some little ribbon bows and put in their hair once we've got it all together. So those are done.